We've hinted at it for a while. Now it's time to talk about it. Tom Ricketts time.
You are Locked On Cubs, your daily Chicago Cubs podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
You are Locked On Cubs, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Alongside Sam Olber, I'm Matt Cozy. Sam and I are lifelong fans, taking our passion into discussion with you on all things Cubs. Thank you for being part of the show and making us your first listen today. And the best way you can help us grow the show is to listen every day, like the video, and comment anything below. Today's episode is presented by a great partner at FanDuel. You can start the season with a big return. On FanDuel, new customers can place a $5 bet, and you'll get started with $150 in bonus bets if you win your first $5 bet. Visit FanDuel.com to get started. On today's episode, we're going to give an overview of Tom Ricketts as owner of the Cubs, eventually trying to answer the question of him holding back the Cubs and possibly on purpose, and then also holding back Jed Hoyer's skills in building the next great Cubs team, as well as keeping an eye on this upcoming season in 2025 and beyond. Let's turn it over to Sam.
So when you're right. this, Matt, and I hope you're having a nice day on this very rainy day, when you're discussing this, I think there's two parts to this, okay? The first part is acknowledging and expressing the frustration that the Cubs are on a tight budget and they should be spending more, or at least that they don't spend enough. So I have the salaries for 2024 in front of me, the salary cap rankings. And I want to express that the Dodgers one is really, they're really higher because of the Ohtani thing. Yep. Okay. So you have the Cubs are 7th. All right. The Mets, Yankees, Astros, Phillies, Dodgers, and Braves are all ahead of them. And 7th isn't egregious. It is not, oh my gosh, we're 17th. But when there's a clear need or a clear opportunity to improve this roster, it does feel like Jed has his hands handcuffed financially. Now, it is also important to acknowledge that some of that is on Jed. He was given a certain budget, and he missed on guys like Mancini. He missed on guys like Smiley. He missed on guys for this last year like a Bellinger. He gave Happ a no trade. So it is a combo deal. But what frustrated me is around last year during the offseason, it became very clear to me, Matt, and I had this tweet that went sort of viral is not the right word, but it became really popular where I said, it's very clear to me that the Cubs are on a tight budget. And everybody responded, well, every team is, and it's like, that's not what I meant. The Cubs shouldn't have to have that long of a staring contest with a Bellinger. They shouldn't have to get that creative to add first base help with a Bush and, all those things. And so the first part of this episode is acknowledging the frustration that the Cubs don't spend enough. And I think the biggest indicator is if they are not at the table for a guy like Juan Soto. Any big market team should be at the table for a 26-year-old superstar / phenom. Okay. Now, the second part of this is where I need your help, and I need everybody's help because I'm not an expert on this. And this, but not only am I not an expert, I'd almost consider myself a novice with this. But the second part of this is what keeps me up at night, if I'm being honest, because I don't do well with the unknown. I don't know a lot of people that do, whether it's work, relationships, family. When something's going on that I don't know about, but I know something's going on, it infuriates me, right? And that is, why do the Cubs have these financial limitations? Why is that the case? And that could be attributed to, it's as simple as, hey, Sam, they don't. Tom Ricketts is just being cheap. I know this will upset people. I don't think that's necessarily the case. I think there's more to it there. We know that they had, what was that quote, Matt, after COVID with the losses, the insurmountable, the biblical losses. We know that was a thing. We do know that the marquee network has not been the success that they probably thought it would be. But what we don't know is how much dollars does that contributed to being lost.
No, Marquis been in I would venture to say a colossal failure.
Well, and so, we always talk about, hey, the Cubs are worth X and the Cubs bring in X in revenue, but we don't know if they are hemorrhaging from that financially. We don't know what they're losing. And so when you put all that together, it's very frustrating, and it's hard to come on here. I read Bleacher Nation a lot, and they'll write things about Juan Soto, and whoever writes the article, whether it's Brad or Michael, will say something like, we're not even going to get into the Juan Soto thing, but we acknowledge how incredibly frustrating that could be. That's not quoting, I'm paraphrasing. And I feel the same way. It's like, I
Right.
do a Juan Soto episode. I want to talk about, hey, even though the Cubs added Bellinger, they could still add another $30 million player and go way over. But the reality of the situation, that hasn't been the case. So number one, it's extremely frustrating. And, don't think that we're not thinking about it or talking about it regularly in our heads. And number two, why? That's the important question. Why? Because I think if Tom Ricketts came out and at least explained it, it would have a
Right.
little bit more merit. We would understand. It's like, if you're working for a company and you're on the, let's say, the lower level or middle level, and up top something's going on, and you don't know what it is, but you just have to keep doing your job, that's kind of an unsettling feeling. And that's what it feels like with the Cubs right now. Curious your thoughts on that.
Yeah, I don't think they have as much money as we think they do. I think they have a self-imposed cap, which is the first luxury tax threshold, for a few different reasons. Unfortunately, we don't know what the reasons are because, yeah, the Cubs and Ricketts haven't said, and then also it hasn't gotten to a certain level of reporting. Usually, the beat reporters or even the non-sports reporters that have looked into it have talked about the budgets and flexibility or limitations, but there actually isn't a specific citation or two of why that is. Now, from what I could gather from the Marquee Sports Network, I do know that there was supposed to be annual payments from Marquee and their broadcast partner, which is this company called Sinclair. I know there was supposed to be a payment every year of $20 million. I know that happened the first couple of years, but I can't say for sure if that's been the case the last couple of Marquee's existence because of advertising, especially on the digital side. Shoot, if you watch Marquee on its app, you know that they're limited with their advertising. Why? It's the same stuff.
Yep.
What does that mean? Less money.
Yep.
And then second is just subscription. They decided to put out the app a la carte for $20 a month. Great move, but are enough people or are as many as they thought to sign up doing that? The answer is no. And I believe that a big reason is because of the on-field product, that if the Cubs had a good on-field product, that maybe some of the annoyances about how Marquee packages it would be less so.
Yeah.
So subscriptions are down. I don't think the 20 million annually is 20 million anymore. I think it's probably closer to 10. And I just don't think they're as healthy as the six teams that you mentioned in front of them.
Yeah.
Dodgers, great TV deal. Yankees, great TV deal. Mets. SNY.
Yep.
The Braves, have had issues with their TV, but they had a new stadium recently.
Yep.
We know that John Middleton in Philly is the dude is real. Yeah. He flew out Bryce Harper and his family on a private jet to secure the deal back in 2018, 2019. And that was that. So he had a concerted effort to kind of go that next step. I don't believe Tom Ricketts is cheap. I don't think the Cubs are cheap, as we're probably going to get to next segment. Jed Hoyer is the public face of this team. He himself has talked about intelligent spending. And as we have charted since July of 2022, when we took over the show, some of his spending has not been intelligent.
Right.
And I do think they made a big error this year in going over the tax. I can't imagine Ricketts is happy about that for 83 Ws. But the fact is the Cubs don't act like the Cubs in recent years, and they have put up money. Okay, they're seventh, as you said. That's not egregious,
Right.
but they don't sign up premier talent,
Mhm.
and that's the problem.
Yeah, I really like what you said, especially about the marquee stuff. I think there's a marquee episode in detail in our future, so I'll leave that for now. I I,
Right.
I want to make this point, and it's almost kind of intentionally countering my own point about Ricketts. We do know that the Cubs were willing to put out a large sum of cash for Otani, right?
Yeah,
So what that tells me is two
probably
things.
500 million.
That's what I was going to say.
Yeah.
So that tells me two things. Number one, that the money then at least is there in some capacity to give it to them, unless they were going to do some sort of deferred situation as well. But then the other side of it is, did Ricketts look at that and go, hey, I'll put myself in a little bit tougher of a spot because I know that's more of an off the field investment as much as it is an on the field investment.
Yeah.
That's why I know this will be eye rolling to a lot of people. But even if I get it publicly knowledge that the Cubs offered Soto 10 for 550 and he rejected, that will make me feel a little bit better because
Mhm.
at least I know that the money's there and they were willing to go over and to do that for a player like that, because I do think the Otani thing is separate. I just think that, from everything that I've read, the Dodgers have already made all that back and then some, just because of the
Yeah, right.
international part of that. So let's continue on and talk about the Jed portion of this, because that's the second part.
And we'll do that right after this.
This episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Get ready to tackle the NFL action, the NBA action, the NCAA football, and that, as of yesterday, NCAA basketball
Wow.
underway. Good
Really?
start for both of our programs,
Yeah.
against some teams that weren't up to par. It's America's number one sports book, FanDuel is, because right now new customers can bet $5 to get 150 in bonus bets if you win. The FanDuel Sportsbook app gives you everything you need to place live bets on the NFL or any other sport all in one place. So when you get a hunch in the middle of the game, you can check out the latest stats, view live play-by-play, and so much more on the same page where you place your bets. Matt, I'd like to congratulate you and your Hawkeye contingent on this
Thank you.
show. They've turned around their season and really had an impressive win. I believe it was Saturday night against the Badgers, and they're going to roll into UCLA. I believe,
right, the Rose Bowl.
They call that the Rose Bowl, and Westwood, right? That's
Yep.
that area. The great John Wooden was a 10-time champion as a college basketball coach, nicknamed the Wizard of Westwood. And Iowa is a 5.5-point favorite. That's a weird line to me.
That's odd.
It's an odd line.
That's so strange.
I'd like to say two things. I won't be wagering on that because it's weird, and because of the late start time, I probably won't get around to watching it. So just visit FanDuel.com, America's number one sports book, to join today.
All right, we're back here on Locked On Cubs, the Tom Ricketts episode, and the Cubs do have about 48 M's to the first luxury tax for 2025. As they don't offer contracts to a few guys, I do think that could push closer to 60 or maybe even exceed 60. And Jed Hoyer's going to have that $60 million to work with this offseason. How is he going to use it? Is it going to be a starting pitcher? Is he going to trade for a slugger? Is it going to be actually a reliever they go 2 or 3 years on like they haven't? Is it going to be a catcher? Is it going to be all those things in some kind of a combo situation? But Sam, what is Jed Hoyer's place in this?
Yeah.
Do you believe Ricketts is holding back Hoyer's own talents to build a great Cubs team? And then part two, can we defend him on intelligent spending?
Yeah, so let me get to the first one. What's Hoyer's role in this? Because that's the big one.
Yeah.
So the first part of this show, I wanted to acknowledge the frustration that everyone absolutely has the right to have, that the Cubs don't spend more, and the tight budget aspect, why that is. And that was a big part. But now it's important to acknowledge the other side. Matt, I'm going to read you the Milwaukee Brewers payroll from last year.
Gosh, can I guess it?
You can guess it. It's really low.
122?
115
Oh man.
and some change.
Right.
And the Cubs was 229 and some change. So the Cubs basically had spent double the amount on players than the Brewers, and yet we're still 11 games worse than them. So in
Oh, God.
defense of Tom Ricketts, I'm sure if he were to come on this program, and if you're listening, Mr. Ricketts, we'd love to have you anytime.
That'd be great.
He would say, "Hey, Sam, you're probably right. The Cubs should always be top 5 in payroll, but we're still 7th, and we spent double the amount that the Brewers did." This would probably be after Jed Hoyer wasn't employed, because I don't think he would directly throw him under the bus like this. But we spent double the amount of our division winner and still weren't close. So clearly, money isn't the issue here. It's the way we're spending the money
Yeah,
and how
right,
our players and organizations performing. So you can see why this is kind of a nuanced topic here.
Yes, very layered.
Very layered. Jed has not done a great job with that. I think Jed's done a nice job with some bargain deals and some trades. But when you look at it, it's very simple why this is.
Drafting.
In the NBA, there's this kind of rule, like, don't overpay role players. For example, the Denver Nuggets, who won the championship 2 years ago, are really struggling this year because they got some role guys that are basically, getting paid like $40 million a year. Michael Porter Jr. Whatever. And they're not that high level. What Jed's done is he's given 20 plus million a year to Hap, good player. 27 million to Dansby, good player. 27 to Bellinger, good player. 20 to say a really good player. But like then he struck out with the Smiley. He then re-upped Hendricks. The Mancini thing was a strikeout. So it's kind of a combination of he's made fine deals. Like, to say a deal is a good deal, but he hasn't really got that superstar level player, and he's paying a good amount for just nice players, and then he's missing on the role, the margin guys, right?
Mhm.
Like giving Drew Smiley $9 million a year to come out and be a long relief guy, that's a miss.
Totally, yeah.
Giving Mancini, what was it, like 6.5, 7 a year, maybe even more? I can't recall.
Yeah, I think it was like 2 for 18.
Yeah, so again, and he wasn't even on the team. Those are misses.
Right.
Those start to add up, and when you add that up with your best sort of deals are still guys that are like Jameson Taillon, good pitcher, but he's getting paid like one.
Mm-hmm.
It's just this team is paid out like they're a 90-win team and they're an 83-win team.
Yeah, Mancini was 2 for 14.
Yeah.
Tucker Barnhart also got a 2-year deal.
Yeah, just little things combined with Dansby Swanson was a big contract. And I think John Heyman on the radio last week, I don't know if you caught this, but he used the phrase like the Cubs stepped out to get Swanson that deal. And those are the things, and I think what he meant, like, that's like unlike them.
Right. That bothered you.
And those are the things with the Ricketts thing that frustrate me. Like, that shouldn't be a step out if you're going to do that.
Right.
But like this whole, it seems like this whole intelligent spending idea is, we're not going to spend 40, 50 million a year. Our big contracts are going to be the Dansbys. But if you do that, then you got to find your hidden gems. And it seems like the opposite has happened with the Cubs. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. And I'll even go through a couple hypotheticals just in the next couple of months.
Beautiful.
So it sounds like Max Fried is their number one target, right? We're going to get to that next. I think we'll try to lead off next week for that.
It does sound like that, Matthew.
So he's going to get about 150 M's.
Which is a lot.
Well, to really go to the next step again for this Cubs team, they need that cleanup hitter.
Right.
So again, we would all have a great holidays, a great new year if it was Max Fried. And I'm just going to say it, Anthony Santander, who probably won't even get 100 million.
No, it'll be less. That's what they're saying.
But because of the AAVs, right? Let's say Santander is 22 a year.
Yeah.
Fried is 27. I just don't see them going 49 M's just for 2 players.
And
that's a shame, because those 2 moves, you'd be excited.
Well, and also because Jed has really invested a good amount of capital financially in the major league roster. Where does a guy like Santander play?
Right. Well, I can answer that if you want.
Please.
So he would DH, Seiya would go to right, Bellinger to first.
So you
Bush would bring back value at the catcher position or an arm.
got it. Okay.
So
All right. I do think. Well, I'd like to talk to you about this off the air, but maybe
okay.
I do think I'm going to do some trade value stuff for my show for Friday.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
For the players on the team.
Yeah, like who has the most trade value? Like a
Oh,
Bill
I would love to hear about that.
and rank them top 10.
Don't even have to do it off the air. I would say do it.
And like a Bill Simmons like
Right.
trade value rankings,
Please.
like Ian Happ wouldn't be on there because he gets paid a lot and has a no trade.
Yeah, well, Hap, Seiya, and Swanson have no trades.
Yeah, and none of them would make the
And
trade value
Tyone
list.
basically does.
Yeah, when he wouldn't make my list either.
Okay.
So no, I agree.
Right.
I think the purpose of this episode that I think, to toot our own horns, we're doing a nice job about.
No, you're doing a nice job.
I just think
I
it's
don't know how I've been doing.
no really good marquee stuff. It's layered, and there's frustration with Ricketts, but Jed also hasn't done a good enough job taking advantage of what Ricketts has given him budget wise. But again, my biggest thing that I hope our listeners take away from this is that I just wish, and you did a really nice job touching on it with Marquis, and I think you're pretty warm there. Is just I wish we knew what it was, because like last year, the staring contest with Bellinger and even the Imanaga deal was kind of complicated, if you remember it.
Oh yeah.
It just was so obvious that this team is really kind of got to focus on those things for the Dodgers. I mean, the Dodgers are going to be.
The Dodgers aren't strapped for cash.
Yeah, I mean, they're going to be at the top of everybody's list again. And
they're going to bring all their free agents back: Flaherty, Teoscar, Trinan.
Yeah,
and they're going to have a seat at the table for Soto or Adames.
And if Roki,
Roki, yeah,
if he comes over here, I mean, I would go as far as to say they'd be the heavy favorites to land him.
Yeah, no, he would go there, I think.
And the Mets, guys, we talk about that's. I'm glad I just reminded myself
because the Mets were technically number one, right? Yeah, technically,
but this is beautiful. This is what I want to finish with. The Mets were technically number one, Matt, because
50 players they don't even have.
50+ million of that went to guys that aren't even on their team.
I think it was probably closer to 80.
Yeah, maybe he's even more than that.
Yeah.
For those two guys, yeah, it was like
Verlander and Scherzer.
Yeah, I think it was like 30+, whatever.
Yeah,
it's like, and that's frustrating. But when you're a big market and you have an owner like Steve Cohen, he's still going to make the team better.
Right.
And so, it's just it's frustrating. The whole thing's frustrating. I don't know what else to say. It was 30 to Scherzer, 25 to Verlander, but they had 80 total because of guys like McCann, Nevarez, etc.
Oh, okay.
But like it's just
I thought Scherzer was like 40 million.
No, he was, but they split it.
Oh, gotcha. So his current team paid some, right?
Exactly.
Got it.
So,
all right.
So like when you look at that part, that's where the Ricketts frustration comes in. But then you look at this, and this is all according to Spot Track, by the way.
Yeah, that's a good resource.
You look at the Brewers and go, man, okay, I wish we spent more, but if we had a better organization and did better with this intelligent spending and took advantage of our assets more, we should still be better than them anyway. So it's twofold, and that's it.
Do you think the Brewers will be in on Adames? I would say no.
I don't think they need him. No.
Yeah.
They'll move Ortiz over. They really like Terang.
Wow.
I would probably say no. I don't know where he's going to go.
Dodgers, Giants.
Oh, the Dodgers have been mentioned?
And the Giants, yeah. Yeah, those two clubs have been mentioned. So.
Well, the Dodgers really were shorthanded through most of the postseason at short.
Have you seen the team that's linked to Corbin Burns? That's a surprise.
No.
Boston Red Sox.
Oh, well, they've had similar issues.
Yeah, they're going to make a financial comeback this week.
Let's do a little good news real quick.
Okay.
You know what? Let's save it. Let's tease it. Save it for the next segment.
All right, we'll keep an eye on 2025. Get to some other news and notes next. Today's episode is brought to you by Hims. Your sex life is important, but your schedule is busy. You don't have the time to go to a doctor's office to get treated for ED. Through Hims, you can get a personalized ED treatment without stepping foot outside your door. Hims is changing men's healthcare by providing you with access to affordable sexual health treatments from the comfort of your couch. The process is 100% online, so there's no need for uncomfortable doctor's visits. Just answer a series of questions on their site, and a medical provider will determine the right treatment option. And if prescribed, your medication ships directly to you in discreet packaging for free. With hundreds of thousands of trusted subscribers, Hims can help you find the ED option that works for you. Start your free online visit today at hims.com/lockedon. That's HIMS.com/lockedon for your personalized ED treatment options. Hims.com/locked on. The products mentioned are chewable compounded products, which are not approved by or verified for safety or effectiveness by the FDA. Prescriptions require an online consultation with the healthcare provider who will determine if appropriate restrictions apply. See website for details and important safety info. Subscription required. Price varies based on product and subscription plan. Today's episode is also brought to you by Arena Club. For most of us that like collecting cards, the idea of spending $2,000 or more on a single card just isn't in the cards. I love collecting, but that's some serious money to drop. Thanks to slab packs from arenaclub.com. Now it's possible to score gem mints for a fraction of their retail price. Every card that I listed was hit from last week's Arena Club slab pack drop. Arena Club is the only repack that provides real value, a complete view of all possible cards, and clear hit rates for each one. This is revolutionizing the repack game, and with transparency. After your pulls are revealed, they'll immediately be placed in your showroom for safekeeping, selling, trading, or auction. The process is accurate, fast, transparent, with a full grade rationale provided, an explanation of how your card was scored. Whether you're buying, selling, trading, or displaying, Arena Club is the card collecting platform you have to check out. Right now, you get 10% off your first slab pack or card purchase by going to arenaclub.com/lockedonmlb and use code LockedOnMLB. arenaclub.com/lockedonmlb, code LockedOnMLB for 10% off your purchase with Arena Club. All right, let's close out the show here. Sam, what were you going to get to?
Yeah, so the good news is keeping an eye towards 25. And I don't want to count my chickens here because I made this mistake last year with the Brewers, but this isn't the Brewers. It does feel like the St. Louis Cardinals are not going to be in win now mode in 2025.
Yes.
From what I've read,
They've indicated that.
They've indicated that, and that's not a small thing because the easiest path to the postseason is to win this division. And I do think the Pirates are going to have an eye on the postseason this year, meaning that they're going to try. The Reds, you don't hire Terry Francona if you're not trying to make the postseason.
Right.
And the Brewers are the defending champs. So if we could at least have one team that is kind of not in win now mode, because the Cubs really struggled against the Central last year, that I think that helps the cause and maybe could get the Cubs a couple extra W's.
Yeah, that's true. And Tom Ricketts, his president of baseball operations, Jed Hoyer, as of right now, is a free agent after this year.
Yep.
So not only what will Hoyer do with that opportunity, but how much is Ricketts actually evaluating that? I think we could learn how much Ricketts really does care about winning still.
Mm-hmm.
For example, what if they win 83 for the third straight year?
Yeah, then he needs to go, Jed.
Okay. So there you go.
And I don't understand why Tom Ricketts wouldn't care about winning, because we have a marquee network. I know
right.
The response is, hey, he gets his pockets, full no matter what, because no, I don't think that's the case. I do believe that Tom Ricketts wants to win championships. I do believe that. Maybe I'm wrong. This is purely speculatory. I could be wrong, but why wouldn't he want a consistent winner? And why would he look up at the standings and go, we're 11 games back from a team that we outspent by double,
Mm-hmm.
oh, I'm cool with that.
Right. It's wrong.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
All right. Great episode. Thank you so much for checking it out. You give us 20 to 30 minutes. We'll give you all things Cubs with a laugh or two along the way. Be sure to hit subscribe on YouTube, smash the like button for the algorithm, and leave a 5-star review on Apple, Spotify, and everywhere you get your podcast. He's Sam Olber. I'm Matt Cozy. This is Locked On Cubs.
See ya.